Siddharth Varadarajan, to those of you who know, and he has been at a WAN-IFRA forum in the past, is one of the best known editors in the country. He is founding editor of The Wire. He was earlier the editor of The Hindu and is a recipient of the Ramnath Goenka Award for Journalist of the Year. He has taught economics at the New York University and journalism at the University of California, Berkeley. Besides working at the Times of India, the Center for Public Affairs and Critical Theory of the Shiv Nadar University. Welcome to you to this conference, Siddharth, and over to you to speak on premium newsletters. We would have loved to speak to you about other things in life, like the political climate, etc. But right now, it is the issue of premium newsletter. Over to you, and then we'll encourage a Q&A. So those of you who have questions, please post them, and we will address them to Siddharth later. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Pradyuman, and thank you, Vijay, and thank you to everybody at WAN-IFRA for organizing this event in these difficult times, and including a session on premium newsletters, and of course, thinking of me and the venture that I'm associated with as a resource person for this session. And that's how I see myself. Newsletters have been with us since pretty much the start of the internet. I would say if you look at the role of listservs and various other kinds of distributed content when the internet was in its infancy. I remember as a, not so much as a student, because even though I studied at Columbia University as a PhD student in the late 80s, early 90s, there wasn't really any internet access. I think students in the engineering and computer side had access to it, but there was no email as a student. But as a faculty member at NYU, we were introduced to internet access and email, and that's when I first began to explore or sample content assembled by people and distributed via various lists. So I would say newsletters really go back to the start of the internet. Every digital news publication today, whether they are large established ones like the New York Times or the Guardian or the Hindu, or whether they are smaller publications or intermediate ones like The Wire, we all distribute our content through newsletters, and we do that for a reason. Traditionally, people, not traditionally, I mean, I'm saying in general, people, once you publish digitally, people access your content, they discover your content through social media or search, or they know about your site and type out your URL and visit directly. And of course, it's the last category of reader that is the most prized, because they are coming to you without any kind of intermediation, and thus are assumed to be much more loyal and much more sticky readers than those who chance upon a link and click on that link and visit, and then perhaps read that particular piece, maybe another one, and then bounce off. So all of us publishers try to maximize the direct visitor quotient. And of course, one of the mechanisms we have to do that, apart from having loyal readers who regularly visit the site, is to send them a daily reminder of the content that we are serving up. And we do this in the form of newsletters. Designing a newsletter, writing it, headlining it, is an art in itself. As I said, virtually every publication produces newsletters. They do it, catering to a variety of readers. At The Wire, we have experimented in the past, apart from our regular newsletter, with a science newsletter, which draws upon our science content. We ran a fairly successful labor newsletter. And all of these are offered to readers who would sign up free of cost, and they would get this in their inbox. And the assumption was that the content we assembled and the way we packaged it, within the constraints of email, obviously, right, would essentially be attractive enough for a reader to want to click on those links and visit visit the website, and read those stories. Here, the holy grail is the open rate. So what percentage of people who sign up for your newsletter and who receive it in their inbox actually end up regularly clicking on a link, opening that, in other words, opening the email in the first instance, and then having opened it, felt tempted enough to click on a link and read something there. And I would say that industry-wide averages vary from 2 to 3% to maybe 50 or 60%. I believe Vox and more than Vox, Oxy, which is a small, sorry, not Oxy, Aussie is a fairly, is a website with a fairly successful and high open rate. And the problem with free newsletters is that, well, they're free, and how do you get readers to value something that they haven't paid for? When you haven't paid for it, it can often just sit in your inbox unread. It can end up in your promotions folder where you don't bother to visit regularly because you assume all of it is spam. And chances are that because it's free, people tend to neglect or ignore that content. So it's not just us at the Wire or the people that we're working with, but across the board, there is a lot of interest in the idea of a premium newsletter. For those websites that are wary of putting up a paywall, as we are at the Wire, and many Indian websites are, you don't want to put up a paywall because either you feel your content is important in terms of informing the public that you don't want to lose readers, or many websites that depend on advertising fear that putting up a paywall would compromise their advertising earnings and not be compensated by digital subscription. So this is a balancing game. But a paid newsletter allows websites that, at least by my reckoning, allows a website that has free access to begin to look at a potential revenue stream without compromising the wide readership that it aspires to have for the journalism that it produces. So a paid newsletter or a premium, paid newsletter occupies that intermediate space. And of course, in order for a site that is otherwise free to justify charging readers for content via a newsletter, there has to be something special or premium about that content, right? You can't simply package content that is available free on your website or that readers are getting through the free newsletter and hope to sell it as a paid newsletter unless you're giving some value added content as a sweetener. So, we have been toying with this idea for the past 2 or 3 years. We launched The Wire in 2015, me and my 2 colleagues, M.K. Venu and Siddharth Bhatia. And, we've always intended to keep The Wire free to access. So we've never really considered a paywall. We want our content to be read by the widest number of people. And, advertising isn't really a very big part of our revenue. We get some money through Google Ads, but in the main, I would say it accounts for less than 10% of our annual revenue, which is really in stark contrast to lots of other digital sites that would depend on advertising for perhaps 80 or 90% of their revenue. So for us, readers coming, liking our content, and then donating, because we are a reader-funded, community-funded website, this is it's important to preserve that space. But we thought, okay, how do you work on those readers who may be willing to pay for premium content and serve them something up that they would want to, that they could relate to and that they would want to pay for, right? So this is a work in progress that, we've been thinking about this for the last 3 or 4 years, and around I would say 5 or 6 months ago, we firmed up our thinking on this. Venu, Siddharth, Bhatia, and myself, as the three founding editors of The Wire, uh, teamed up with 4 journalists slash writers who had earlier been associated with the Indian Express. That's Seema Chishti, Prateek Kanjilal, Sushant Singh, and Tanveer Alam. And said, okay, fine, let's come up with a premium paid newsletter, daily newsletter, that would offer readers something that they can't get very easily from the Indian media landscape as a whole, either because there's a surfeit of content or there are problems of trust. You don't know how reliable certain information or certain news breaks might be. But I think above all, there's just too much of information out there for even the most avid India watcher to be able to cover in a reasonable period of time. If you are, say, an Indian academic abroad, or if you're a scholar or a diplomat or a businessman sitting in America or Hong Kong, and you need to follow what's happening in India because of your academic interests or because it's linked to your profession or you want to make a living, you can't really afford to spend more than an hour or two, if even that much, surfing a whole host of news websites to see what's important, what's new, what's of significance to you. And that's where we felt that as editors who have a lot of collective experience, and I dare say considerable credibility in the market out there, if we could step into the breach and select and curate on a daily basis everything that somebody seriously interested in India needs to know about what's happening in the country. And if we could package this in a well-written, pithy, somewhat commentative, but I would say analytical newsletter, that there would be takers for this. And so we launched the India Cable at the end of October, initially in a sort of on a trial basis, and it's been coming out every day, 5 days a week, for around four or 5 months now. And the plan, as we have said from day one, has been to charge a subscription fee. We've used the platform provided by Substack in America, which is the platform of choice for hundreds of newsletters, including some very successful ones. There's Bill Bishop's Cynicism, for example, or the former Rolling Stone journalist Matt Taibbi has a very successful paid newsletter, again operating through Substack. And the benefit of Substack is that it offers a fairly clean and elegant content management system. It doesn't have too many bells and whistles, but then we are talking about a newsletter that is delivered in people's inboxes. So the more content, the more heavy it is with bells and whistles, the longer it will take to load and the harder it is for people to negotiate their way. So this is essentially, Substack offers a fairly elegant solution to that. And they take care of the back end, which is the signing up process, the management of subscribers, and even the collection of the subscription fee when you turn when you end the free period of your newsletter. Now, so Substack hosts a lot of newsletters, as I said, hundreds, perhaps thousands, many, if not most of which are free or are in the intermediate stage of building up a certain readership platform before they turn on the subscribers only option. And so the India Cable is today pretty much in that intermediate stage. We have been looking closely at the route that other successful paid newsletters have followed, as well as the metrics that Substack itself suggests we monitor. because the question really is, when do you switch from being a free newsletter, as we are right now, to one that is available for subscribers only? Substack allows a kind of hybrid model too, where every now and then you can make the newsletter of a particular day free for everybody, so that the sampling process continues and readers are able to make up their mind before they commit. So there's a question that we have to deal with of when we transit from being free to being paid, and then of course setting a price point. The price of these newsletters varies from $4 or $5 a month to $10, $20 a month. There are examples of very successful newsletters that have tens of thousands of subscribers that charge $10 or $15 a month, which can represent a fairly decent, steady source of income. So these are all questions that we are still feeling our way around. For now, me and my colleagues at the India Cable are essentially focusing on getting the content right. So we've evolved a certain fairly predictable format, so that regular readers know what they will get and where to find it in the simple structure of a newsletter. And one of the more popular parts of our newsletter in terms of reader engagement and clicks are where we have a list of the most important op-ed articles in the Indian press. And we give not just a link, but a couple of lines in terms of an annotated recommendation for why a certain piece ought to be read. And then, of course, we look at important new videos or new audio podcasts that would be of relevance to anybody seriously interested in India. We showcase important research on topics that have a close bearing to news and current affairs, whether it's issues of health, whether it's issues of migration, whether it's issues of banking, whether it's issues of caste, whether it's issues of communal violence, and so on and so forth. So we've showcased a lot of research. And the two cornerstones of our daily newsletter, for those of you who read it, are what's called Portrait of the Day. So this is the first item every day is, I would say, a very engagingly written summary, a curated summary of the most important events of the past 24 hours. And this is written by the newsletter's editor, Prateek Kanjilal, who's a cracker of a writer, with just the right turns of phrase and use of wit and humor and sarcasm, irony, but also giving links and giving the most important events of the day for readers. So there's the Portrait of the Day, which is a regular feature. And we have the other popular aspect of our newsletter is what we call the long cable. So each item in the India Cable is, around, other than the Portrait of the Day, which is longer because it's meant to convey a summary of everything that's happened. But each, every day's newsletter would have perhaps 8 or 9 items that could run from anywhere from 100 words to 200 or 250 words, giving the reader a quick dive into, important topics. And in addition to this, we have what we call the long cable, which is a signed analysis or opinion piece by one of the founding editors. So that could be either Seema Chishti or M.K. Venu or Siddharth Bhatia, myself, Sushant Singh, Tanvir Alam, Prateek, where we essentially write 800 or 900 words analysis or commentary on a particularly important topic of the day or the week. And this is also something which our readers say they look forward to, because you get a high quality analysis or commentary from a highly regarded byline. We have occasionally invited outside columnists to contribute. And the plan as we go paid would be to introduce occasionally outside writers, to introduce outside writers on a more regular basis, perhaps thematically. We would invite people, maybe senior diplomats or people from industry to write or comment on a current affairs topic. So that's essentially where we are at. In terms of what we gather from the people at Substack and from other newsletters is that that roughly 10 to 20% of people who sign up for a free newsletter get hooked enough to want to stay once you say that you have to pay $10 a month to read this. So since our target is to we would be happy with anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 paid subscribers. In order for us to get there, we need to have around, I would say, 15 to 20,000 regular subscribers to the free newsletter. We're not there yet, and we hope to get there in the next few months by maintaining the quality of our newsletter, and of course, being more innovative about the way we promote it. Right now, most people discover the India cable through social media, through tweets or Facebook posts. And of course, we rely on our current subscriber base to share the newsletter with friends in order to encourage them to sign up. But we're trying to see how we can push and promote the India cable more so that the subscriber base can be grown more quickly. But that's essentially where we're at. I mean, the discipline of producing a premium newsletter, quite frankly, for the 7 of us who are involved, this has become, and all of us, like I'm busy otherwise, or Mr. Venu or Bhatia, we're very busy every day editing and managing the affairs of The Wire. And Seema Chishti, Sushant Singh, they have other matters that they are looking after, journalistic and non-journalistic. But for us, the production of the India cable every day, we have a release time of 4 o'clock. Today I managed to push through early because of this event, but we have a release time of 4. And for us, this is really the most important venture, the most important element of our working day. It's also a great discipline if you're in the news business, because frankly, we have 7 or 8 minds that come together to say, okay, fine, today we need to give our readers X, Y, Z. And invariably, I come across topics that my colleagues have suggested, where I make a mental note that, hang on a minute, we have to make sure that this issue is covered in The Wire as well. Not necessarily the same way, because the character of The Wire and the character of the India cable are really quite different. But as a discipline, working on a premium newsletter has been a great experience from an editor and a journalist point of view. And I do think that individual journalists and editors need to look at this format very seriously. We know that in the United States, with job attrition and so on, many senior journalists are taking to the newsletter space in order to grow their own audiences and in order to make a living. And we hope that as the months progress, and particularly after we turn on the subscription firewall for the India cable, this will be a venture that not just pays for itself, but will actually generate enough surplus for us to further grow the concept. So I'll stop there, Pradyuman, and be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Siddharth. We don't have too much time left. So I'm going to take one question that has come in from Velu Shivkumar, who asks, when it comes to online platforms, the reader's persona varies based on content, location, age, etc. So how can this newsletter be targeted to different readers' persona?
That's a great question. I would say we can't really do much about the age differential because this is just one product. But as far as location is concerned, we agonized a great deal about location, because the newsletter has one release time, which is 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And the reason we picked 4 p.m. is because we felt that this was really the right balance between appealing to Indian readers. Enough has happened in the day for them to want to get our our curated list of what we think is important. So we get great feedback from news editors, for example, or other journalists who say, hang on, that's great. Thank you for the newsletter because I got a great idea, or I got a great tip off, or I understood a subject. And 4 p.m. also allows us to hit inboxes of subscribers on the East Coast of the United States, just as they're waking up. For those of you who have ever worked in the US, the working day begins really early there, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. So we hit the East Coast inboxes by then, and inboxes in Europe or London. We are in there by around, I would say, 1600 hours Indian time means around 10 or 11 in the morning. So that's a good time for people in UK or Europe. Where we suffer, I think, is in terms of readers to the east of India, because the newsletter reaches Hong Kong 7 p.m. their time, Australia 7 or 8 p.m. their time. It's a bit late in the day. But we hope that 4 p.m. is a good time which caters to people across all geographies. And content, we really, we try to give an eclectic mix of content to, so that readers who have an interest in politics, of course, the diplomacy, politics, political economy, culture, these are and law. These are important elements of any news platform, and they feature heavily in our newsletter. But we also have important developments from the world of sports or science or health in order to cater. So the idea is to really provide talking points, conversation points, and issues to think about for readers who are interested in India and all things Indian, and who interact with people who follow India. So I would say so far we're quite satisfied with the kind of mix that we have come up with.
Thanks, Siddharth. I have one question. I don't know whether I have the time, but the wire existed for a while before you launched India Cable. So didn't you? So why didn't you go pay on day one? You obviously wanted to test the waters and figure it works, but clearly you could have gone pay on day one, because right now you will keep taking time, and you'll wonder whether the time is right or wrong.
No, that's a great question, Pradhiman. The reason is very simple. None of us had any experience in producing a premium product of this kind, and all the advice we got was you can't go pay from day one, because you want readers to be able to, first of all, you need to be confident that you are producing a high quality product with the level of consistency that any fee payer would demand. And secondly, you want to have enough time for people to sample the product before they commit to pay, because even the most loyal reader is unwilling to pay unless they know and are assured that they're getting reasonable or good quality, right? So, but I agree with you. I mean, like there comes a time when you're always on the fence, and should I turn it on now? What will happen? So we have metrics in our mind as to when we're going to turn the switch on. We haven't got there yet, but we definitely will get there. And so until then, for those of you who don't know it, please visit theindiacable.com.
On a lighter note, all of you have worked for premium products in the past, although they may be in different forms, unless and until, of course, you don't consider them premium.
Well, I mean premium in a very narrow sense, right? Premium as in something that you are asking readers to pay for, right? And so the Hindu or the Indian Express or ET, Times of India, Indian newspapers have refrained from experimenting with the paywall until now. So the Hindu's doing it now, and I think and Business Standard, which are two excellent newspapers, and I'm sure that they will pull it off because they have that high degree of brand loyalty. But even now, if you're a reader of the Hindu, you're constantly beset with ways to access the paper free, because they want you to not go away because of the paywall.
Yeah, let's hope that people are willing to pay for content, because we live in an environment, in a country like India, where people would rather pay for a hot dog or for a vada pav, as they say, but not for content. But things are changing, and clearly the way forward is for offerings such as yourself. Thanks, Siddharth, for being here. you still have some time for your deadline in case you want to make some changes.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much, Pradyuman.
Thank you. Thank you very much.